fuck the rules of love. Today, I want to touch on a topic that is very big on my heart at the moment, which is how, in my personal opinion, now, I do want to mention that I'm not talking about the nuances. Okay, I'm speaking quite generally today, but from my experiences, from what I have witnessed with working with clients and just observing human behavior, it is my opinion that these, like the women rights, we want equality and women empowerment movements have, in some ways, gone a little too far. And whilst I do believe it has been needed, and even when it comes to healing, this is pretty common where you kind of, there's one extreme and then you pendulum swing to the other once you have awareness and you want to start making changes. But then it is about trying to find a balance, a harmony between it so that there isn't these extremes playing out. Extremes in anything generally can be quite damaging. And from where I sit, and obviously I'm a woman, I have a vagina. Okay, so I am all about women rock, women rule. Like we are badass. We can do anything and everything. And sometimes we can't. I just think that there are things generally that men are better at, and there are things generally that women are better at. And that's also going to be unique to each person, each relationship as well. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, why is it so wrong to say, you know what? Yeah, I couldn't build a, I'm not saying women can't, but like me personally, I'm not a builder. I don't build things. I don't fix things, like with, around the home or whatever. My partner excels at that. He's naturally great at that. Is that because he has a dick or not? I don't know. But I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm not here to be like, I don't need a man. I don't necessarily, I mean, like, I guess with modern science, we don't need men to procreate, I suppose. But like, why do we need to buy in extremisms? Why do we have to completely marginalize a group of humans because what they've done us wrong in the past? I have no doubt you've done him wrong in the past too. Maybe not him specifically, but we are not perfect. Women have flaws too. And I think men are often so like emasculated and put down and shamed because their expression of their emotions is not always how we would like them to be. Or they can become, maybe a bit volatile or unpredictable. So there's no two ways about it. So there are some shit men and there are some shit women in the world, okay? However, I'm sick of seeing men that are just doing their absolute best, being put down, shamed by their partners, and then going to their girlfriends and bitching about them all the time. When was the last time that, I don't know, you went and hung out with some friends and you were like, you know what, he's amazing. Like, I'm so thankful for him. I'm so grateful. Instead of going, oh, he didn't do this and he's not doing that and he spoke to me like this and blah, 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 blah. Why is it so horrible to lift up our men, to focus on how they are excelling or how they are showing up for us, even if it's not the way that we want? And so often, this is probably one of the hardest things for me to watch, if I'm honest, is couples that have children and how little influence the dad has on parenting. They are not respected in the parent dynamic, and it is mum's way or the highway. There's no compromise, and it's because mums know best. They are the nurturers, so it always has to be their way. We have to always be soft. We have to have this gentle parenting approach. I do not necessarily agree with that. I think there has been too far of a pendulum swing from this kind of dictatory type upbringing to the polar opposite of like, I'm so scared to traumatize my children. They're all my own shadows playing out. But because I am maybe seeing a therapist or I've listened to some podcasts or I don't know, watched some TikToks, now I'm like so woke and so healed or whatever it is that I know best. And it's really interesting because I was this woman once. I thought I knew better than everybody. I was like, you guys have no idea what's really going on. Like, you are so traumatized and so unconscious to your behaviors, and I'm so much better than you. That isn't necessarily quite the self-talk I had going on, but that was the energy that was playing out. And at the core, it was me just trying to protect myself and keep myself safe for sure. And it wasn't until that I was willing to be humbled and take a really good hard look in the mirror and go, you know what? You don't know everything. You know what? Their reality, their perspective is also valid. Is there a God? Isn't there a God? No one knows. Are spirits real? Can we communicate with the dead? I don't know. Some people claim they have. How can I say that that's wrong? That they are lying? I don't know if they are. Does it also really matter? If it makes them happy, they're not hurting anyone intentionally. What's the fucking problem? I'm digressing slightly, but I guess what I'm trying to emphasize more than anything is that if we walk around with this story, whether it is a conscious belief or not, that I know better than my partner when it comes to parenting, when it comes to being in a relationship, when it comes to communicating, it is actually creating a divide between you from the get-go. You are losing connection, intimacy by thinking that you know best. And that's not to say that occasionally you don't. But if this comes up a lot for you and you're like, no, no, but I've read the books and you should be healing this way, you should be getting this kind of help, you should be communicating like this, blah, 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 it is very likely going to cause damage to your relationship and the connection you have with your man because you are probably invalidating his experience. You are probably placing unrealistic expectations on him, which is inevitably going to lead you to feeling disappointed, let down, resentful, pissed off, whatever. And I see this a lot for women that are like, oh, he needs to do this and he needs to go see a therapist or he needs to heal in this way. I did this too. And it was creating so much distress for me, actually, because I was so fixated on trying to control the outcome, control what his healing and growth looked like, because it wasn't meeting that standard. I was like, oh my God, we're doomed. That was sort of at one point in our relationship, that was the kind of things that I was thinking. I was like, there's no way we're going to survive this because he has so much work to do. So many women, he needs to see somebody, he needs to do this and this and this. And I'm like, I understand that maybe there is some validity in this, for sure. But why are you so worried about what he is or isn't doing? And why are you not worrying about what you aren't or aren't doing? Why are you suddenly so much more superior? And maybe if you are resonating in some way, whether you want to admit it or not, with what I'm sharing, maybe there is actually so much more power in worrying less about what he's doing and concerning yourself more with what you are doing. Why do you feel the need to focus on all the things that he is or isn't doing? Why is he not able to step up as a father? Why are you not letting him lead? It's like we want him to do this and we want him to love us in this way and we want them to provide the money and blah, 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 whatever the thing is for you. And because they aren't that, then they must be less than, or they must be a red flag, or they mustn't be the one for you, or they're in the wrong and they've got the work to do. I promise you, if you're frequently feeling like he is the problem, he's not the problem. And I'm not even necessarily saying you're a problem, okay? But in what I'm trying to emphasize is that you need to do the work. And it's not saying this is the thing, okay? Because what I've noticed as well is that people are doing the work, which is beautiful. Like, genuinely, I'm seeing so many people wanting to make changes and heal and to grow and to move forward. But unfortunately, I just kind of feel like sometimes what they're trying to do and implement isn't the thing that they actually need to be doing. And I just feel the desire to share this as well. I have just launched my 6-month group program called Unshakable Love. And I have pumped so much support and such a variety of education tools to support all aspects. It is about being positive, rewiring your limiting beliefs, affirming a future version of yourself, of like who you want to be, how you want to feel about yourself, about your life, and honoring the parts of you that are still scared, that are still holding on to pain. There's no spiritual bypassing. It is about building your emotional and mental resilience. It is about taking care of yourself and filling up your cup so that you aren't projecting and worrying about what your partner is or isn't doing. I never used to respect my partner. I thought I did, but I didn't, not really. And I was continually putting him down in little snippy remarks, or just like, why didn't you do this today? Why aren't you doing this? You didn't respond in this way. Why aren't you better? Which is really me saying, why aren't I better? Why am I not enough? But instead, I didn't want to look at myself too closely because it doesn't feel good. And instead, I made him the problem. Because if he's the problem, then I have nothing to look at. I'm fine. I'm the victim here. And if you're the victim, then you can go, poor me. And then everyone else will chime in, and you'll tell all your friends who have the same kind of traumas as you, and they'll just validate your experience, and that's it. They will not offer solutions. We're going onto the Facebook groups, or we're going to our girlfriends that don't have the experience, the knowledge, the know-how of how to make a different decision or how to look at it in a different way. Sometimes just shifting your perspective can radically change the way that you are viewing your relationship, your partner, yourself, or a situation you found yourself in. And unshakable love is, I've done my utmost to address so many facets. There's no magic pill, but this program is designed to meet you where you are at. Plus, you get one-on-one support. You get group live calls. There's a group signal chat. So there is so much support to support you throughout this whole 6 months so that the growth is much more rapid than just, oh, okay, I'll go see my therapist today and then I'll wait 2 weeks to see her the next time. And then we can address the things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. It's like in the moment support. So you can get the feedback, the assistance you require in the moment and start making those changes so much quicker. And it is addressing what you need in that moment, depending on where you are at in your journey. I want to write a book, okay? I love writing, and I feel I have so much to offer. And whilst I want to do that, I also am of the mind of that this isn't a one size fits all approach. Like, this is going to be written. I can't alter it. I can't change it. So it's sort of like take what resonates and leave the rest. But too many people just latch on to one, I don't know, ideology, one concept, one methodology. And that is something that they live and breathe. And there's no room for other possibilities. And I'm like, I don't even have that approach. I am like, this is what I believe in this moment. Might that change later down the track? Absolutely. I am open to that happening. How many of us get so hung up on an opinion or a belief, and they are so rigid in it that they're not willing to see another perspective. If you are relating with another individual, this is such a toxic way to be because your perspective of something is completely biased, whether you like it or not. I'm seeing so many new age Christians arising. I feel like there's just been an influx of people really delving back into Christianity. And I cannot sit here and say whether you are right or wrong. Okay, that's not what I mean. I'm not even here to judge you on your experience. But what I'm noticing is it's so very rigid or extreme. And it's like, this is the way it is. Not everybody. Okay, I'm trying not to generalize, but again, I mentioned at the beginning that we're speaking generally, not to the nuances, okay? But it's really like God, Jesus will save you. And I'm like, but maybe that's not everybody's experience on this earth. Maybe one day I might be saying the same kind of thing. I don't know. But I try not to have such extreme, intense views on things because I'm so acutely aware that that is just one perspective. And there is so much gray in this world. Nobody has all the answers. And I think that is one thing actually that I might say till the day I die. No one has all the answers. Some people are Buddhists and they believe in Buddha, and some people believe in God, and some people are atheists and they believe in nothing. Who says one's right or wrong? You know what my faith is? My faith, my belief is I am here to do good on this earth and to love as much as I can. I believe that that is my purpose, to ripple more love into the world, because it is from that place that we are happier, that there is less war, less anger, less hatred, less pain. And pain is unavoidable. But if we can meet it with love, we have such a different experience of life. And that's what unshakable love is too. It's softening and realizing, hey, I don't know anything. But also, I'm so thankful for what I've experienced, because without it, I wouldn't be here right now in this moment. And the fact that I'm living and breathing and listening or watching this podcast is a miracle in itself. How much are we taking our very existence for granted? You know, last night we heard some really terrible news about, I don't want to share personal details about someone's loved one passing. And it's just another reminder of like, what really fucking matters? Like, is your partner really that terrible that it's justified that you continue to second guess your relationship, second guess his worth, and how that's really just a reflection of how you probably, very likely, deeply feel about yourself? Now, if he is abusive or really horrible and nasty to you, that's a different story. Can he sometimes be a bit of an asshole and say some really, you know, cunty things? Okay. Trust me, I've said some pretty shitty things to my partner and vice versa when we have been profoundly triggered and we're deeply in our shit and we've just had I don't know, a massive argument. But the difference is that I see that for what it is. It's like little, our inner children driving the cars, but, in these adult bodies. And they're just like, just see me. And neither of you are seeing each other. And you're both desiring actually the same thing from one another. Really? But neither of you is willing to go first. Women are great at going first and leading energetically in a relationship. But they need to get out of their own way and stop putting all of the blame on their partner, or stop trying to pedestal themselves as if they're some superior person because they're more woke or they've healed more or whatever it might be. Meditation is great, but bypassing how you deeply feel so that you can avoid feeling uncomfortable isn't helpful. But also, always being in your pain and your hurt and being a victim is not helpful if you aren't trying to be more grateful or more positive about your life. You need both. You can't have one without the other, because they're both extremes, right? It's like a part is still missing. And I had a conversation recently with a beautiful woman, and I was like, I love that you are making these changes. I love it. Doing a lot of mindset work, the mental stuff, so fucking important. Mindfulness, amazing. But what about the shit you're really feeling? What about the pain that you're trying to avoid addressing? That also needs to be considered. That is what is required. Both is what's really required in order for you to grow and to thrive. And so that your ego isn't running the show and you don't think that you are better than your partner, that you aren't respecting him. If you don't respect your partner, that is a problem. If you don't respect how he shows up in his as best as he can, and if that still isn't enough for you, that hurts my heart for his sake. Because I'm like, I have no doubt. And again, I'm not talking about the nuances here. Okay. I'm talking about the average relationship where, yes, your man might be a bit of a dick sometimes, or maybe he doesn't clean up after himself or whatever it is. But like at the end of the day, is that the end of the fucking world? Do you know how many times I've had to ask myself, still to this day, is this really worth it? Like, is this really a battle I need to fight? Like, if he were, I don't know, if my partner James were to have a heart attack, I really hope that never happens. But just theoretically, that if he just had a heart attack, would this thing really matter? This thing that I'm stewing on, that I'm overthinking and pulling apart and overanalyzing, would this really matter? And I've asked myself this, and then almost always the answer is no. There are absolutely some things that need to be addressed, and it's not quite that black and white. But also, often the things that we think are a problem just don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And we get so caught up in these petty things, these surface level, like even arguments. And it's like, it's not about that. Who cares? You think you're right, he thinks he's right. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's like, can we just honor our experience, what we are feeling, and understand that we are doing our best? And if we can come together, if we can be a team and we can invite in more vulnerability, more softness, and often, yes, women need to lead with that. We also need to be a safe place for our partner to come to. Yes, maybe they aren't vulnerable in the same way we are. My partner's vulnerability sometimes has an edge of like anger to it. But I've had to learn to meet that with compassion and understand that he's not angry at me, and that's actually when I would be triggered by that. It was my own fear of my own anger, my own expression of it, and had shit to do with my past from my own father and his anger and whatever it is, that it wasn't actually about him, and I had to see it for what it was. And in doing that and building respect for my partner as a father, as a partner, as a provider, as someone, like whatever it is, I've had to see him in a new way. And it has changed our relationship because I'm no longer emasculating him all the time by saying, you're not doing this or you're doing that. Why can't you be better? Is basically the undertone. And now I'm like, thank you. I appreciate how hard you work. Or I'll ask him, can you please, love me in this way? Can you just show up for me like this today? Can you give me a cuddle? I'm asking instead of expecting him to just read my mind. I'm not falling into the trap of he should just know. He knows me well enough. If he loved me, he'd do it. I don't buy into that. I just don't. And our relationship is better for it. And that speaks volumes to me. So, this is a prequel, this episode, to the next episode that is coming out. I actually asked my partner, James, to be on the podcast. And he unwillingly, he said yes, because he wants to support me, supports my business. And it's a little bit awkward a couple times, actually, because it was a little bit vulnerable for me to do it as well. But it is a very powerful conversation that I highly encourage you tune into. It will be the episode released after this one. And I think one, it's going to maybe even like validate what I've shared from a male's perspective and the journey we've been on. He had no idea what the questions I was going to ask were. He didn't really have any warning. We just kind of jumped straight into it. So they are completely authentic, unrehearsed answers from him, and you will be able to see that as well. He's a very thoughtful person and is very intentional with when he, like, what he says. And I think that's also reflected in it. So I'm really, really excited to get that episode out to you all. And if anything resonated here or it activated something in you, I encourage you, go journal on it. You can, if handwriting's not your thing, go and write it in your phone notes, whatever, and just get curious. What was this activating in you and why? Why was it so triggering? What do you not, what haven't you been willing to look at yet? And maybe it's time. And if you are interested in Unshakable Love, please reach out to me via my website or Instagram or Facebook, whatever. and let me know that you're curious. We can just have a chat. It's not for everybody. There is an application process because it's not for everybody. And that's okay. I'm not for everybody. But I also trust it will attract the right women that are ready to go deep for 6 months in a way that isn't overwhelming and feels impossible. If you can commit 3 to 4 hours a month, even to this, you will notice radical shifts in your life and your relationship. That is it for today's episode. If you loved it, please give it some love, and I will see you in our next episode, which is a goodie. Ciao.